Hi guys, happy Monday. What a day, what a morning. It's been really weird. So, we're just going to jump right back into the old craft today. So, alright. Where did I go? Oh, there I am, obviously. Okay, so, now another prominent 20th century occultist, magician, and psychiatrist who in many ways took on the persona of an urban cunning man, was Austin Osman Spare. He's got some really wild theories. I mean, wow. So in recent years, Spare has become the patron saint of modern chaos magic. You guys ever notice that? Yet, his real significance lies on his influence on modern traditional witchcraft, including such groups as the cultist Sabati. So, Spare also became well known in spiritualist circles for his seances, automatic drawings, and mediumship through his spirit guide, Black Eagle. That is just incredible. The imagery that invokes, whatever, into your mind, it's incredible. So, the son of a city of London policeman, who had hardly saw as he was always on night duty. Spare came from a working class background, but by the age of 20 he had published his first book and held a private exhibition of his artwork, selling his drawings to wealthy patrons at age 20. That's incredible. So his work had also been featured in the Royal Academy of Arts summer exhibition, the youngest person to have had that honor, and was given the nickname of the Cockney Genius. I like that. During the First World War, Austin Spare was an official war artist for the British government. That is amazing how they actually recruited like witches and magicians and psychics and spiritualists to actually see what was going on the other side of, wherever. So, I mean, that's really neat. And some of his work is still exhibited today in the Imperial War Museum in London. So although he illustrated ordinary books and magazines, some of Spare's paintings and drawings depict the spiritual twilight zone that exists outside the range of our ordinary senses. A lot of this, what we're dealing with, can really go along with like elder faith. So it's really interesting to me. So, he used pen, pencil, and paintbrushes to artistically evoke the denizens of the elemental realm and the participants in the witches' Sabbath. So, strange Thracianthropic creatures writhed across the pages of his drawing book, I think. Goblin faces peered from the serpentine trunks of an aged and twisted trees. Demonic forms danced in erotic abandonment with naked young women. Satyrs and fauns gombled in the woods. Old crones were transformed into beautiful sirens in the magical glamour cast by the spell of ancient witchery. This man had a lot. He has got a lot to say. I don't agree with a lot of what he had to say, but it's really interesting. So he claimed this artwork was largely the result of his friendship as a young boy with an elderly lady called Ruth Patterson, who was a friend of his parents. She was married to a doctor, had Romany blood, was a spiritualist and a clairvoyant, and who told fortunes for free, and a devout church-going Christian. So that's that dual faith that they talk about, that you hear about in the old craft. Alright, the old woman, who allegedly lived to be over 100, was regarded by Spare as a witch, and his second mother. He described her as one of the finest women I have ever met, or desired to meet. She was full of love and kindness towards everybody. Aww. Now, according to Spare, Mrs. Patterson had the extraordinary ability to externalize thought forms representing future events and project them into a dark corner of the room where her clients could see them. Okay, so that would be pretty, I'm thinking of like the anomalies, whatever, the spirit ectoplasms and stuff that you see, like with Lorraine and Ed Warren, their fake photos of that little boy, which was proven to be fake. Their ectoplasms coming out of their mouth when they're like, ah, and you can see all that stuff coming out of their mouth, fake. So that's kind of what I draw or I go towards when I hear about, projecting a thought form into the corner of the room so everybody can see. Are you sure everybody's going to see it? So, yeah, it's just weird. I mean, I don't know about that. So, where did I go? Okay, so Spear admitted she was a natural hypnotist who could make people see what she wanted them to see. Okay, so alright, so power of suggestion. She taught this magic technique to her protege, and on one occasion, Spear summoned the elementary at the request of 2 occult dabblers. Unfortunately, it seems they did not really believe in such things. Well, what happens when these people see it for the first time? So, when it materialized in the corner of the magician's living room, they fled the house in terror. There we go. Spear told of how he took Mabel Beardsley, sister of the famous artist Aubrey Beardsley, to see Mrs. Patterson. So she told her to be careful about her death and to have courage. After Mabel left, the old lady confided in Spear that she did not have long to live, only 2 years. Beardsley just died in a nursing home from cancer. Many of Spear's works had a high erotic content, reflecting the artist's interest in the magical use of sexual energy. So we can do that. We can connect that to Robert Rake, or however you say his name, with Orgon. So their content seems tame by today's standards when hardcore pornography is openly on sale in the local newsagent. However, the sexuality in some of the drawings shocked the London art galleries, and they refused to sell or even stock Spear's work. I can see where that comes from too, because I've been there, and you guys have all seen my videos and the thumbnails and the artwork and everything, and love letters from Lucifer. There we go. So that boom right there. Now, before the First World War, Spear had privately printed his first book, Earth Inferno, and sold 500 copies at 5 shillings each. He also edited a literary and artistic magazine called Forum before joining the British Army and working as a war artist. That is fascinating. That really is fascinating. Now, although he managed to survive the horrors of the trenches when he returned to England, the world had changed. For a while, Spear became a disciple of Walton Crowley, but eventually the two men fell out. I'm seeing a lot of this, people falling out with Walton Crowley and Gerald Gardner. So Crowley, rather ironically, condemned the artist as a black magician. So this was not unusual, as anyone who crossed Crowley was likely to be called this. So we're kind of getting a glimpse into, other people's viewpoints of what they've experienced with Crowley. So Spear had also been rejected by the art establishment, and he eventually retreated to a small flat in the slums of South London, where he became a recluse, eking out a merge living on the poverty line by drawing portraits of the local characters. Now, in public houses near where he lived at the Elephant and Castle. Now, in 1936, an official from the German embassy in London brought a self-portrait of Spear from the artist and sent it to Adolf Hitler. This is interesting. Now, the Fuhrer was so impressed by the painting that he asked Spear to travel to Berlin and paint him. Spear refused and responded to the invitation by writing to the German dictator and telling him, quote, if you are Superman, let me be forever animal, unquote. I would have said the same thing. I would have been like, nope, sorry. Ironically, considering this exchange with Hitler, in May of 1941, disaster struck when the South London house Spear was living in was bombed by the Luftwaffe. Says his, I wrote that. His studio and most of his artwork was destroyed in the resulting fire. Spear never fully recovered from this traumatic event. no, today with the funeral with the 21 guns, whoa, that was too much. I was like, oh my god. I was like, oh, they're all gonna get me. No, it was really. Anyways, when the spiritualist medium and Fleet Street reporter Hannon Sufar met Spare in 1946, the artist's right hand was paralyzed. He was in poor health and dressed in rags. Now, Austin Spare adapted ancient witchcraft techniques into his own unique magical system. So these involved periods of fasting, sleep deprivation, and bouts of excessive sexual activity to the point of exhaustion and physical collapse. So you can see that's kind of based off Crowley, but it's also based on, what he had experienced as, growing up in the old craft, around that type. So it is possible that he learned the latter practice from his time working with Aleister Crowley, obviously. Spare claimed that these practices for raising power were the esoteric secret concealed behind the orgiastic rites of the historical witches' Sabbath. We can kind of see that. I understand that. I can see that too, behind, the typical painting of the witches' Sabbath. So, it would be, a deeper esoteric meaning. Literally, because the witches are not there, the devil's not really there at the Sabbath. So, in fact, he said it was the real reason why the witch cult had been condemned by the medieval church and its adherents ruthlessly hunted down. So he described the Sabbaths as, quote, a concentrated assimilation of unlimited wish fulfillment, unquote, and its dark ceremonies as, quote, an extensive hypnotic to overwhelm all psychological resistances, unquote. So Spare believed that the art of sorcery was a, quote, a deliberate act of causing a metamorphosis by the employment of elementals. So it forces a link with the powers of middle nature, the astrals, of great trees and animals of all kinds, unquote. Very, very interesting. He had a very interesting viewpoint on all of this. Austin Spare presented his idiosyncratic magical system to the outside world in a series of privately published grimoires. So central to them was the use of sex for magical purposes, psychic contact with the spirit world and the elemental realm, and the adoration of the witch goddess. So he does have some viewpoints that are very out there that I do not agree with. But I thought that was pretty interesting right there. So Spare always tried not to limit the goddess by any anthropomorphic image. I like that he always, he did not want to limit the goddess, the worship of the goddess. So, but his friends and sometimes magical colleagues, Kenneth Grant, head of the Typhonian OTO, said that the artist sometimes did personify her as either the Canaanite goddess Astarte or the Egyptian goddess Isis. So it is possible that Spare was influenced by Kenneth Grant's theories regarding historical witchcraft. So as the degenerate offspring of a more ancient, legitimate esoteric tradition. So yeah, I don't agree with that at all, but whatever. However, Grant does admit that the popular ideas about it have been adversely influenced by its distorted anti-Christian manifestation in the Middle Ages. It just doesn't seem like this guy is fully in it, as in practicing it magically. It looks like he is more of like a, like field researcher almost. So, alright. Okay, so he has gone on to say that its mysteries, debased and perverted as he claims they are, can only be fully understood by reference to the ancient beliefs from which they are derived. So, yeah, he's strange. So Grant believes that the first witches were an elder race of Mongol origin whose descendants are the modern Sami people of Northern Europe. Very, very odd. He did not think that the witches, he identified the witches, the very first witches, as being extraterrestrial, and I'm like, you're completely out there. Witch blood, like, you have got to have witch blood, which is, that's false. That is all false. So, alright, we're gonna leave off there. Let me see where I went, if I can find where I went. Alright. I don't know where oh yeah. There we go. Alright, hold on guys. Yeah, really interesting stuff. I mean, really, really interesting stuff with this guy. So, what do you guys think? Interesting, maybe? Maybe just a little bit? Alright, let's do some coffee talk. Yeah, I don't know about this Grant guy. I don't really care for his interpretation of witchcraft and what it represents and what it means. And that, you know, it's the medieval witch cult, and then we have historical witchcraft and traditional witchcraft, and then, you know, kind of saying that, you know, oh, well, there was, you know, first there was some ancient fertility cult that came before, and I don't, yeah, I can't believe that. That's not what I believe. Very interesting. Very interesting guy. Alright, let's see here. Let's see what's going on. Alright. Well, in the case of Charles Walton, insane. I mean, literally, it was so insane. I was like, it just blew my mind all over a piece of obsidian. And again, mysticamber.com. Enter RYANE in all caps lock and cap locks, and you will get 10% off. Alright, Lupe. Hi, my love. You are the best. Take care. I love you so much. Sheila Nagel. I have a lot of videos to catch up on. Yeah. Alright. Okay, well guys, I think that's it for the day. So, I love you guys with all my heart. All the way from Venus. All the way back down. Obviously I can't even do a video, so I will see you guys tomorrow. And I love you all, and thank you guys for watching.